Health Department on Thursday, January 6, reports 17,220 new COVID-19 infections, the highest since September 27. Thursday's cases bring the total caseload in the country to almost 3 million. The DOH also detects 29 new cases of the highly transmissible Omicron variant of COVID-19. This now brings the total of confirmed Omicron variant cases to 43. The Philippine General Hospital, the country's main hospital for COVID-19, is already seeing 6 times more admissions in just 10 days. In an interview with ANC Wednesday, January 5, PGH spokesperson Dr. Jonas Del Rosario says a lot of PGH's health workers are getting sick. Meantime, at least 15 members of the Presidential Security Group or PSG test positive for COVID-19. PSG Commander Randolph Cabangbang says the President's security team had no recent contact with President Duterte and were infected during the holidays. In related news, the City of Manila says non-residents can avail of Manila's stock of COVID-19 medicines as long as a patient presents a doctor's prescription. The city's drive-through swab testing is also open to non-residents free of charge. After a long fight by lawmakers and advocates, the Philippines now has a total ban on child marriages in the country. A copy of the new law, Republic Act No. 11596, bears President Rodrigo Duterte's signature dated December 10. The consolidated measure imposes penalties on facilitation and solemnization of child marriage and the cohabitation of an adult with a child outside wedlock. Violators can face jail time up to 10 years and pay fines up to 50,000 pesos. The law also states child marriage is void ab initio or void from the beginning. Filipino Muslims were allowed to marry as minors under the Code of Muslim Personal Laws. The new law repeals or modifies decrees inconsistent with the new measure. Advocates to end child marriage argue, regardless of culture, the practice robs young girls and even boys of their freedom to choose whom to marry at a time when they are not physically, emotionally, psychologically, and financially ready to make such a decision.
Need more context, clarity, and perspective? Get the full picture with Rappler Plus. With exclusive content and events, you'll get an opportunity to discuss issues with reporters, experts, and featured guests while helping Rappler continue its fearless journalism. Join now.
Berjaya Makati Hotel questions the Makati City government's move to close down its operations Thursday, January 6. Berjaya says the city government's move has no legal basis and would be disadvantageous to the country amid spiking COVID-19 cases. It adds there is no law that penalizes a hotel for not reporting a guest who jumps quarantine. Berjaya also claims it was not given due process by the Makati City government before the closure order was enforced. Aside from suspending Berjaya's accreditation, the DOT also revoked its permit as a multiple-use hotel and imposed a fine equivalent to twice the rack rate of its most expensive room. Berjaya points out it is still in the process of appealing its suspension with the Department of Tourism. The penalties stemmed from a quarantine breach involving Gwyneth Chua, who skipped quarantine at Berjaya and partied in Poblacion, Makati City. She later tested positive for COVID-19 and so did several of her companions. The Philippines Athletics Track and Field Association decides to give a 2-week window before implementing the decision to drop pole vaulter Obiena from the national team and charge him with estafa. In a letter addressed to Philippine Sports Commission Chairman William Butch Ramirez, PATAFA Chairman Rufus Rodriguez says the National Federation will give 2 weeks for all parties to comply with the mediation. Rodriguez says the recommendations were crafted without Obiena's side because he failed to appear before the investigative committee after being given 3 chances. The deferment is a response to the PSC's call to reconsider delisting the 26-year-old pole vaulter from the national team. Despite the rift with PATAFA, Obiena vows to continue representing the Philippines. number 1 tennis player Novak Djokovic is denied entry into Australia Thursday, January 6. He was initially granted a medical exemption from the country's COVID-19 vaccination requirements so he could play in the Australian Open. Djokovic, who has taken an anti-vaccination stance, refuses to reveal his vaccination status. He was issued a letter by the Australian government saying his visa was denied and he would be removed from the country. The Serbian player will file an injunction to prevent him being sent back. Prime Minister Scott Morrison says Djokovic failed to provide sufficient proof to receive a medical exemption to enter Australia. Melbourne has a 93% vaccination rate for 12-year-olds and older.